Mai Harry Mai, and welcome to everybody. So tonight we're going to be talking about the New Zealand Society of Genealogists collections, which we have a few of. So I'm going to start off talking about what's the difference between a collection and a project. So we have a lot of collections, we also have a lot of projects. Most things start off as projects, but eventually they'll turn into collections. Projects on the whole kind of are finite, that there is an end point at somewhere with the records, whereas collections turn out to be ongoing, and from the nature of them being ongoing, many of them can be quite ad hoc in terms of the content, because it's up to our members who are contributing to them. So we have a lot of collections and we have a lot of volunteers who help run them. So I'm going to ask Melanie and Bryce to sort of stick their hand up and show me themselves. We have a collections focus group, and Melanie and Bryce are the two directors from the board who oversee that and report back to the board for us. And we also have a lot of other volunteers who we will see along the way, and I'm sure will be able to contribute. If you want further information on any of the collections, it's on our website. We have a heading on the menu bar that says NZSG collections, and there are all of the ones in there for you to have a look at. So there's more information on how to access them. So I'm only going to sort of give you an overview so you have an understanding of what is in them. So let's start off. Our biggest collection, well, actually it's not our biggest collection, but one of our most significant collections is our certificates collection, and we've recently upgraded the service on that to provide it by email as well as by post, and we have over 130,000 certificates that have been donated, and they do cover off a variety of different types of certificates. We are very broad in what we accept, and we are always looking forward to more donations. So currently we have June Stratford, who is our inwards person. She receives them and puts them in the index for us. Francie Smith is running the postal service for us. And we have Jan Sherwood, Bernadette Siebert and Debbie Evans, who are our new email team. And I know that Jan is here tonight, so if you just want to say hello, Jan.
Hi.
So they've been working really hard since the email service launched at the beginning of February. How do you think it's going, Jan? Going well?
Yeah, I think it's been going really well. Yeah. Every time we give it a little bit of a push, we get more things through, but overall, no, we've had a lot of inquiries, so it's good.
Yeah, and I have to say, I mean, I did a little bit of helping out with the testing, and the certificates I got have kind of paid for my membership this year, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's one of the great things about the certificates collection. It's a great way to save some money. Now I'm going to move along to our next one, which is our First Families collection. So this is for families who immigrated to New Zealand before and including 1901, and partners is what we described them as on the website, who married before and including 1901. I don't know why we just don't put before 1902, but that's what we have as our official criteria for this collection. So these are forms that our members have filled in. I have one that I inherited from my gran, when I'm assuming she was a member, from a cousin of ours, and you know, the cousin is alive and kicking and down in Christchurch, so she came along to my presentation at the Christchurch Expo last year, and I was busy pointing out, look, where would I be without her contribution to the society? So they really are useful, and even though some of the items can be quite old, they may be submitted by people who are closer to the source information than you are, so there could be quite interesting things in there that you might not have known. We have a database to search First Families on the website and put in a request, and the request will go to Debbie Evans, who does both the inward and the outward part of the First Families collection. We also have an index for it on the Kiwi collection, so if you've subscribed to that, then you will get the First Families come up in your search results as well. Now, a variation on a theme going in a different direction is our Pedigree registration collection. So these are Pedigree forms. I'm assuming we know what it looks like that, you know, those horizontal forms with your family tree. They have all been submitted by members, and they are a way to contact other people who are researching the same family as you. And Judy Kirby runs that, and you can put in an online request form to find people who have done various names in your family, and or you can also submit your own forms to find other people too. So that's a really interesting collection. The next one is the pre-1856 marriages collection. So while civil registration brought in births, deaths and marriages, marriage registration was not compulsory until 1856. So from 1848, when civil registration started, to 1856, and of course before 1848, there is a sort of gap in the records. And so we have been collecting information, and I wrote down the list. They include civil registration, church records, newspaper marriage notices, family and social history publications, Maori mission records, Bible entries, ministers' diaries and journals. So a very eclectic collection of records that may allude to people marrying here in New Zealand before it became compulsory with civil registration. Of course, this is for Pākehā. Maori compulsory registration started a lot later. So our members have been busy supplying it, and if you find one that you'd like to add, please do send it in to us. We have an email request service, so you just click off an email and they will see if they can find anything for you. The next one is the Griffiths illegitimacy. So we often hear about people who have, illegitimate ancestors, and what records can we find on those? There are various sources out there, public records from courthouses and national archives and places like that that have been pulled together to, give an index for you to find further records. Now, one key point about the Griffiths illegitimacies is the privacy conditions. So we do have a 100-year embargo on that. So, you're looking in 1923 and before, unless of course it's for yourself, or you can prove that the person you're asking for is deceased. And you access that through research services. So just flick them an email and ask them to have a look up on the database for whoever you're looking for. Another collection that has been going for a few years now, and my branch here at Kilburnie, Rodney, who's in the meeting tonight, has been busy collecting and scanning these on behalf of our branch, are funeral service sheets. So these are what you get when you unfortunately have to go to a funeral, and they are quite interesting pieces of interesting records about people's lives. Sometimes they don't have much about their lives in them, but a lot of the service details. But they often have pictures, which I think is one of the key points to them. And they're kind of more modern, although we do go back a long way. Some of our members have done quite big clear outs over time, and so we do, we have collected funeral service sheets that go back a decade or two. These are all being centralised through research services. So again, flick them an email and see if they have one for the person you want. We do index them on the Kiwi collection as well. So if you have the Kiwi collection, you can sort of see instantly, as of the last update, whether we have them. The Cemeteries collection, now this is a huge one, and I know this is one that many of our members have been involved with over the years, because we've got around approximately 1,400 cemeteries. We have a listing in the library catalogue of which cemeteries we have, and some of the earliest burials that I'm assuming that were still visible for people to be able to see, back from 1812 through to 2020. And we have included, because our members have gone out and about and found these cemeteries, private cemeteries, Urapa, and some in more remote locations, because of course, back in the old days, people were pretty much buried where they died, and if it wasn't at home, they may not have been returned to their home. Again, this is a huge collection, and you can access it by sending an email through to research services. We are looking at adding the index and images we got from Ancestry onto the Kiwi collection with full member access. but we're still working through the technical details on all of that. And I would also point out that what was digitised through Ancestry is not the whole collection, because we have kept going since the sort of cut-off point we had for giving them our records. So there are more. So do get in touch with Research Services to have a look. The Obituaries collection comes from all sorts of locations all around the world, not just sort of the national newspapers, but people also contribute things from newsletters and periodicals that they've seen. Again, you can request this by email and just send us through some names and see if we have them. The school records collection is one of my favourites because of what's on the Kiwi collection. So APW stands for Admission, Progress and Withdrawals, and they're basically the records following the children around the countryside, and so they can be really quite interesting to see where people lived. Even if it's just changing their address within a city, you can track where they moved to. We do have privacy constraints on this, again, like the Griffiths illegitimacies. Basically, it's 100 years, so a kind of a blanket rule about 95 years after they started school, unless you can prove that they were, you know, older than 5 at that point. You can also ask for your own records to see if we have them, or if you can prove someone is deceased, we'll give you the information. There is quite a full index on the Kiwi collection, and then you can, if you want, go through to our schools officer to find out what she holds as well. But a really good collection. And the biggest collection, and I have kind of put this towards the end, is the Kiwi collection. So this is additional on top of the subscriptions to on top of your membership. We had 12 million records we hit at the last update, so we are full steaming ahead on that one. We have indexes of many of our collections on the Kiwi collection, as well as a huge number of other record sets that our members have contributed over the years. So it's fascinating what we have on the collection itself. So we have a technical team hiding in the background that make the whole thing work, and they're led by Paul Alp, who's here tonight, I think. And he has a little partner in crime, Christine Clement. And I believe they're building their team, but we have volunteers all over the country who are busy making records to add to the collection. And we've had a suggestion recently at our branch about chicken farmers, and I have to say I am loving the idea of chicken farms being added to the collection, because they used to keep records of who was a chicken farmer in New Zealand. Who knew? Now, contributions to our collections are always welcome. So if you have any of the records that we've been through tonight and you'd like to contribute them, please send them through. There are details on the website, and under each one how you can contribute them into us. And we are always looking for volunteers to help out. We have a number of volunteers already working on things, but you know, we always find more are welcome. And that is the end of the slideshow, so I'm going to exit somewhere. So this is an opportunity for you to turn your cameras and your microphones back on and ask me any questions, or ask any of the people that we have here tonight that work on the collections any questions that they might be able to answer. Now, do we have any questions? If you want to raise your hand or yell out.
All right, I'll say something.
Go on, Melanie.
Well, because Bryce just said before that I'm outspoken, so I may as well be outspoken again. So you did. So Sarah's just mentioning about the funeral service sheets. While Carol, our projects coordinator, is on leave at the moment, I'm doing quite a bit of work on that, and I'd really like to encourage anyone around the country to submit their funeral service sheets at the moment. If you're a branch and you've got hundreds of them, you can email me, and and I'll send you a spreadsheet so you can index them at the same time. But we're doing a really big push on them at the moment because it is a fantastic resource for members. A lot of the ones I've looked at lately, they've become more, rather than date of birth, date of death, photo, and the Lord's Prayer and various other psalms, they've started including like stories of the people's lives, and I think that's where it becomes really, really important. So yeah, I really encourage anyone here tonight to contact me. You can click on my photo on the website, or it's mm.director@genealogy.org.nz, and I'd love to hear from any branches who can push through some more to us. Would be great.
Yep, I know that there are certainly people at our branch who have done clear outs recently, and Rodney, got your hand up. He's in charge of getting them up to Melanie, aren't you?
I have got a lot at the moment. Well, I think it's a lot, but Kilburnie recently passed the 1,000 mark since June 4 years ago, which we felt was a great effort. But
Excellent.
Adding to what Melanie has just said, and if there's any encouragement to people out there, I have found that a number of people are pinning the newspaper clipping of the death into the cardboard leaflet funeral service sheet.
Yep.
And it's quite surprising because some people, they go and put the whole family album in. There are photos for Africa, to use that expression. Other people have no name, no rank, no serial number, just a funeral service sheet with no pictures at all. But the death notice adds to a funeral service sheet because it usually lists the name of the kids, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And
The other thing, sorry to interrupt, Rodney. Did you want to carry on?
Oh, no, that was the main thing. Well, I was
Yeah.
just going to say, though, apart from, I feel chuffed that we've done 1,000. I thought, is there anybody from Palmerston North here? Because I had an idea they're up to about 3,000. It's from conversation in the past. So, there's some branches with big numbers out there.
Yeah.
I went to Oamaru, got hundreds of them.
Yeah.
They've got them in the museum.
So do we have them? I'll have to check that.
Yeah.
Seriously, from my point of view, and Paul and Bryce and Christine and I've been talking about it lately, it's a great resource to keep adding to. And in fact, a lot of them are coming through now where people have, even though the children aren't actually recorded on it, they've handwritten the children's names, and they've even handwritten dates of birth and things like that. So just an incredible resource in my opinion.
Yes, helping us with a more modern.
Jean's got a hand up, so.
Jean.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That's right. We've been waffling on about funeral service sheets. Hi, Jean. How are you?
Hi, good. With the births, deaths, and marriage certificates, I've got a collection of ones that my parents got, like certified copies. Is that the sort of thing you're looking for?
Yep.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
keep them, but do you accept photocopies of them?
Yes.
Because we're looking at scanning them. So if you have digital copies of things, you can send them through for the details.
Send a copy if you have them. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Or photocopy and post them to
Okay.
NZSG. That's absolutely fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So some people send us copies. Some people, send us the ones they don't want anymore. So it's up to you. But it's a great collection, and the more that it gets added to, the more that the more value members will get out of it. I will point out one thing though, that come the day that we can add images to the Kiwi collection, the certificates collection will not be part of it because we're legally not allowed to. And Wendy, yes, you can submit your own scans because as long as they're legible, we can make something out of them. So, good question. Thank you.
Yeah,
Right, Melanie?
Just one point on that. We would prefer either you post a photocopy or you send a PDF by email, please don't send JPEGs, because to email them to Julian, our manager, for instance, you end up having to reduce the size of them too much, and then they become unreadable. So, yeah, just a technical point there.
Yeah, I think a lot of ones that people receive digitally will already be in PDF format.
Yes, they should be.
Sent to
Will
us.
be.
Yeah. Cool. And Jan here will be sending them out to various people around the place, won't you, Jan?
Yep.
Are there any other questions, comments, things people want to talk about? Oh, Paul, you've put your hand up.
The Cemeteries collection was scanned, how many years ago? 6-7 years ago by Ancestry. And we know that there are some significant errors in it. And we're working on that. But I was more interested in what's happening since those 7 years. Is that who's looking after that and what's happening with it?
I believe it's all in the library, but I think my understanding, and I will stand to be corrected, is that we only gave, Ancestry only got up to 2006. Or
Could be.
date,
Yep.
but there was a cut-off date, and then of course there's new records and that. So they're held by the FRC. I think we're kind of at one step at a time in terms of the cemetery records, because there's
Okay.
quite a few of them, given I believe the index is like 1.6 million records or something, is that?
Yeah, 1.8 million indexes to the 1.6 million records.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And but wait, there's more. So,
Yeah, exactly. But I just wondered if there was what was happening to the new stuff. Cemeteries being redone. Is anybody looking at doing that, bringing them up to date? There's a couple extra that Rodney's quite keen on doing at Karori, I think, Rodney, weren't you? Don't set me up, mate.
I'm doing Waipu at the moment. I've taken the photos and I'm halfway through putting them in a database, you know, in a spreadsheet. So we all do our own thing, you know, our own little area. It all adds to the collection, doesn't it?
yeah.
Cemeteries are very different. Depends how big they are and how they're referenced. Can be area, row, block and plot if you're something like Karori, or it can be just a single number. That's one of the difficulties with it, trying to get some standard to do them. However, we've managed with all the other cemeteries so far, so I'm sure when they come out and people can get access to them, people will enjoy looking at that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the current cemeteries index and the images with it, there are no photos. All those images are images of typewritten sheets of the transcriptions on the headstones.
Yeah.
Correct.
So those are still valuable. I mean, I've
Oh,
been
yeah.
to Christchurch and seen my 3 times great grandparents' headstone, which is in 3 pieces, and of course the best bit's lying face down. And I don't think it'd need a bit of a hoist probably to turn it over.
You can get them refurbished.
Yeah.
My family got 8 refurbished in South Taranaki for about $250 a headstone.
Yeah.
Really? That wasn't too bad.
That's cheap.
I just need a strong man or 3, possibly, just to come and turn them over the right way and put them in the right order. But of course, until then, having things like the Cemeteries collection, which tells me exactly what's written on them, is really valuable.
It's useful, yes.
Yeah.
The quotes I had following the Christchurch earthquakes for my family in Christchurch were well more than $300. Way more.
Yeah, that's my.
Well, they were probably quite busy.
You just need you need to know the local monumentalists.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, not what you know, who you know, Melanie.
Yeah, okay.
Rodney.
I'm just thinking of this last 2 bits of conversation we've had. Have we got our e-kit whiz bang on board tonight? I don't think so, but you make a point that Ancestry collected cemeteries up to about 2006. I think there's an opportunity there for a little paragraph in eKit to tell people of this additional information that's available. Hey, use NZSG. We have more than you get off Ancestry. Tell them what you've just said to us, and also Melanie's bit about the funeral service sheets, and yes, possibly throw the hard copies away, but please just not yet. Would the eKit be a good place for those two snippets?
Excellent, yes.
Big
Oh,
picture.
thanks, I'm not going to write it.
Why not?
Because I write a hell of a lot, otherwise you ask Sarah.
I thought you just volunteered, yeah.
Yeah, I thought he had
Put your
to.
hand up. Go for it.
Yeah.
When do you want it by?
Tomorrow.
Fine.
No, bugger off.
Next eKit's coming out next Wednesday. I believe, just in time for Easter.
Wednesday? I think you're a week ahead of yourself, aren't you, Sarah?
No, next Wednesday.
Really?
Renegotiated.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I apologise. Yeah, it's
Because of
end
Easter,
of
other things.
financial year. I've got no brain at the moment.
That's what happens when you multitask, Melanie. Stop clipping out those clippings.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you, Sarah. Along, and thank you to those that have contributed, and a big thank you to all the volunteers that work on our collections. So we've seen some of them tonight, Paul and Jan, and our directors who are also volunteers. I'm going to add and make a big point of that too, because people think that somehow we're different, but it's not. We are just volunteers who have volunteered to do this bit of the NZSG, and people like Paul have picked to do, and Jan have picked to do different bits of the NZSG to help us all, and people like Rodney and others have chosen to help us out with our branches and interest groups. So we are as strong as our members, and I'd like to thank those that do volunteer and help us out. Anyway, thank you for coming along tonight.
Thank you.
Alright.
And
Good night, everybody.
See ya. See you, Bryce. See you, everybody.
Thank you.